The first and most important test is, will it do rally style celebration four-wheel drive donuts? Yep, that pretty much tells me everything I need to know. This is a road-going rally car. The second thing is, does it feature a bespoke body, preferably with pumped out wheel arches? I love the way Toyota has made extensive modifications to the body. It's not just a Corolla with a powerful engine. It's got huge pumped out wheel arches front and rear, especially at the back. I mean, it is just, some plastic cladding, I guess you could call it, but it's a proper body kit. It sits pretty low and wide. It looks really fat, especially from the back. And it's got a unique triple outlet exhaust system with a big center pipe. The bodywork is not crazy over the top, like it does have a little discreet rear wing and some vents in the front guards. But from a distance, you wouldn't immediately know this is a hardcore model. It has real bonnet vents as well. I think it looks really cool, and Toyota offers a range of colors as well. In this gray color, it's kind of got that JDM street tuner kind of theme to it, and then it pairs well with the Ankai or Toyota Ankai 18-inch alloy wheels. They're wrapped in 235/40 Yokohama Advan Apex tires. And then inside, it's fairly discreet as well. It doesn't really jump out at you that this is a crazy hardcore road-going rally car. It does have bespoke seats, although they're not super chunky, but they are, once you sit in them, you'll realize these side bolsters are quite chunky. And the lower bolsters are okay. They're good for a mixture of comfort and support. So you could go for a nice long drive and they don't feel, like you're sitting in a bucket or something like that. It's actually pretty comfortable. Unlike the GR Yaris, which is pretty similar to this, it's like the smaller brother, but it has the same powertrain and four-wheel drive running gear. Just the Corolla is tuned up a little bit, but I'll get to that later on. The cabin is definitely a bit nicer. It has a more natural driving position. You sit pretty low. The steering wheel is almost vertical to your chest. Whereas the GR Yaris, you kind of got this tilted forward steering wheel feel to it, and it just feels a little bit awkward, like you're sitting on top of the car, whereas this, you definitely feel like you're sitting in the cabin, nicely sunken down. And that's just like the regular Corolla as well. You do have a lot of piano black plastic everywhere, so I just wiped it down. I've actually got this rag just sitting here, but yeah, there's a lot of it all around the place, and even up on the dash around the touchscreen as well. It just gets really dusty and mucky very quickly. You do have a wireless charger down below with heated seats and your drive mode button, your traction control, and then your drive system modes there, which I'll get to later on as well. This is a manual transmission only model. For now, Toyota is working on an 8-speed dual clutch automatic. But yeah, overall practicality, like it's pretty spacious. It does feel a little bit more confined than some rivals, like the i30 hatchback just feels a bit more open. This dash really protrudes out and sticks out at you and makes it feel a little bit more, confined and claustrophobic almost, but it does have that sporty seating position, as I said. And around at the back here, we've got adequate space for passengers. It does have a flip down armrest as well, with cup holders, but no climate vents in the back of the console, because the console is just flat. I mean, you can use that as your own storage in the back. Headroom is okay once you're in, but my head is pretty close to that getting in and out, and I'm only 170 centimeters, so if you're pretty tall, you'd probably, got to be real careful when you're getting in. But visibility is pretty good. You do have big chunky seats in the front, but you kind of sit a bit higher than in the front, and you can easily see over the windowsill. The C-pillar there is pretty thick, but it's all very low and sort of swooping design. It just makes it a little bit more difficult to see it through the back. But luckily this is a small hatchback, so it's not like you're looking right back, to the back of a ute or something like that. And then up at the back, the standard Corolla doesn't offer the most boot space as it is. This comes with a tire repair kit and just a big chunky sort of console, I guess, with some storage pockets, because it has to, of course, accommodate a rear axle drive system. The i30N offers a bit more boot space, but it is front wheel drive only. But the Golf R as well offers more space. I think if you want overall cabin space and boot space in this kind of super hot hatch segment, the Civic Type R is the one to go for. The rear seat is huge, the roof line extends right back, then you've got a nice big boot as well. But it is front wheel drive, whereas this has to accommodate all wheel drive, which, that's not really fair stacking it up against a four wheel drive. And then under the bonnet here, we've got the record breaking 1.6 litre turbo 3-cylinder engine. With a 3-cylinder, automatically you've got this sort of animated engine note. It sort of thrums along. It doesn't just roar and bark like a typical 4-cylinder hot hatch, which, you know, that's appealing as well. But the way they've done this is just over 20 PSI boost, 3 cylinders means you get pretty good economy in the real world, but you've also got surprisingly strong mid-range torque and top-end power. This thing will rev to 7,000 RPM. 220 kilowatts, which is up from the standard 200 kilowatt GR Yaris with the same 370 Newton meters. All right, let's take it for a spin now on the winding road, and then we'll do the 0 to 100 test. I tested one of these last year. It's not quite as quick as the GR Yaris, but like with any manual, you know, you can sit there all day and get a different time, so you probably could get a time similar to the GR Yaris. The best I got in the GR Yaris is, I think, 4.9 or 4.8. I'll flash up the exact time now, whereas the best I've ever got in this is around 5.5 seconds. I did about 8 runs with some cool down in between. I also tried the different drive mode settings. So it's got a track mode, which is, I think, 50-50 distribution between torque sending to the front and rear. You've got the standard 60-40, and you can also flick it to 30-70, so rear biased drive setup. I tried all 3. I'm just going to leave the aircon on for this test because it is a very warm day, 27 degrees, and it's not even at the peak of the day yet. I did the performance testing yesterday though, so just keep that in mind. And it was about 23, I think it was. Definitely cooler than today. To get things going, we'll just leave it in this default mode. I've got it in GR4 60-40, and we'll just see how it goes. I'll toggle through the different drive distribution setup. On first impressions though, it doesn't make a huge difference. You know, at 70-30, you know, it doesn't suddenly become a rear wheel drive and you can kick the tail out like a rear wheel drive. You can just feel it sort of pushing a bit from the back more so than the standard mode. In terms of the ride quality, I think Toyota has done a really good job because this thing soaks up bumps, including big bumps, which is great when you're on an Aussie country road like this. I also feel like it is set up a little bit for the dirt because, yeah, it just seems like there's a lot of suspension travel. It doesn't mean there's excessive body roll, but there is a little bit of lean and a little bit of roll, but you can use that to your advantage by throwing the body around, which you can't do in some hot hatches that are a bit more rigid, a bit more firm, that might rail around corners a bit flatter, but then, yeah, once they let go quickly, whereas this lets go slowly. We'll try out the sport mode now. So this is mainly for the throttle response. It just feels a bit sharper. It doesn't have adaptive dampers or anything like that. Yeah, it definitely goes really good. It pulls strong through the gears. It's running at about 1.4 kPa, so 140 kPa, which converts to around 20 PSI, according to that boost gauge anyway. It does have automatic rev matching as well. I've got that turned off. I'll just turn it back on. IMT, intelligent manual transmission, and a little light comes up. That'll give us a nice little blip of the throttle during downshifts. Yeah, you can even feel it sort of pouncing, and the nose raises up and then squats down during braking. Sensational grip around the corners. That's full throttle. It just grips up and flies around. Yeah, it's definitely a very punchy little hot hatch. So we'll try out the 70-30 mode now, and we'll turn the stability control completely off. You've got a track mode for the stability mode, or expert mode, but if you hold the button down, it turns it completely off. Actually, just then, it was starting to drop in revs, but I'll just show you. So this is second gear, very slow, 2000 RPM, floor it. Bogs down a little bit. We are going up a fairly steep hill. It might not look like it on camera, but it is pretty steep. I feel like third gear from around 3000 RPM is, yeah, really strong. You can feel it surging, the turbo spooling up. Just do that again. So 3000 RPM. It kind of sounds like it's almost laboring, but you can hear the turbo just really screaming. Yeah, just then it almost peaked at about 1.8 or 180 kPa by the looks of it. definitely a nice turbo sneeze during the back lift off then. Okay, I'll try and push it a little bit more, although I'm not going to be able to get any sort of power slides happening down this very narrow road. But as I said, you can't really notice the difference between 60/40 and 70/30, at least initially. You'd have to get it onto a track and really stretch those tires and even get a bit of sliding happening to notice the difference. At full throttle around here, it just feels pretty much the same as 60/40 really. In that, yeah, excellent traction. It doesn't feel understeery, it doesn't push wide. It just grips up and slings around the corner. So you can throw it in with the power down and have awesome confidence that it will just grip up and go. Through this tighter section, tiny bit of understeer, but you've got to drive this kind of like a rally car, I think. You've got to throw the weight around, get on the brake, get the nose biting in. I think it's a setup for competition really, which is what you want from a road-going rally car. I'll just see if you can hear that turbo whistling off the wall here. Yeah, it's cool. It's like an 80s turbo sports car, you know? Throw it in, full throttle. You could feel then, or you could probably see then, the front was just pulled straight into line. Okay, we'll try out the track mode for the center or the front rear distribution. You just push the button down, it says GR track. I'm pretty sure this is 50/50. Okay, so I can feel the difference with this. There's a lot more sort of tug and pull from the front end. It feels, yeah, more together, I guess, and more rigid. It's probably more predictable too. But yeah, heaps of grip. I love the way you can adjust that. So if you were into some competition, you want to do some hill climbs or even rally driving, you can play around with that for different, different stages, tarmac stages and dirt stages, and figure out the best setting that suits your style of driving. Overall though, I think this is an awesome little package. I love that Toyota has finally stepped into the hot hatch game, and it hasn't just made a mild hot hatch. This is a hardcore four-wheel drive turbo, pumped out body, and lots of power for its class. It's still practical though, or as practical as the Corolla is as standard. Just a little bit of reduced boot space, but great visibility out the front. I love the way the side mirrors are pushed back a little bit, then you've got that little window in the corner so you can see through there easily. I feel like, yeah, my mum could drive this car just fine. It's just the engine with that sort of low down revs, it's just a little bit boggy. Once you get over that, or once you get used to that, sorry, it drives pretty much like a normal Corolla, and the ride is not too firm. I love that. So you can drive on a country road and really enjoy it. All right, let's head out now to the private road and do some performance testing and see what it goes like.